And I will just mention for those just joining the recording, we are going to use 2 blocks for this morning's practice. So you'll want 2 blocks nearby. If you don't have blocks, you could use some big, thick books too. Or you could use a chair. I will show you how you could use a chair if that would be another option. So we're going to get started and let's make our way onto our mats lying down. And as you make your way to lying down, we so often begin in this position because it's such a nice opportunity to feel the body relaxing. Some of us feel more comfortable with something under our head. So if that's more comfortable to put a blanket or a pillow under your head, go right ahead and do that. But let your body relax into the floor. You could have your eyes open or your eyes closed, but take this time to begin to feel what you're experiencing. Feel your body. And as the floor is supporting you, allow your body to relax. Let your feet relax into the floor. Let your low back relax into the floor. Let your shoulders relax into the floor. And let your head rest back. Take a moment and soften the roof of your mouth. Soften and broaden your palate. Notice how it feels to let your body relax. So much going on in our lives, in the world. So much potential for us to be holding tension in our bodies. It's not beneficial to hold tension in the body. So here's an opportunity to let it go. And then we'll use a tool to help us release tension. We'll use our breath, our always available tool. So let's breathe in fully and deeply and feel that breath expanding. And let's also breathe out fully and deeply. Feel the breath emptying and releasing. Very simple breathing technique. We're just breathing deeply. And we're feeling the breath as it moves in the body. Where does it go as you breathe in? What happens? What moves? And how does it feel as you allow it to empty and release? And can you let it empty fully? Take all the time that you need for your breath now. For the fullness of an inhale. And the full emptying, releasing, letting go of your breath. And as you're breathing fully and deeply, take this time to check in. How are you doing? How are you doing on a physical level? How are you doing on an emotional level? How are you feeling? We really are our own best friends. We know ourselves better than anyone. And just as we would listen to a best friend who was sharing how they're feeling, can we do that for ourselves? Open up and hear, listen, feel, connect with how we're feeling. And once we have an awareness of how we're feeling, let's consider what would be something we might want to focus on this morning. Just one thing that would address how we're feeling, that would help us, that would inspire us, or just nurture us. What is one thing you'd like to breathe into your practice this morning? Think about it. Pick one thing. And as you continue to breathe deeply, breathe that one thing in. The default is always love and compassion. But maybe you need something else. Whatever it is, spend a little more time breathing it in. And as you continue to breathe out fully and deeply, just know that each exhalation is an opportunity to let something go. So we can let go of stress, fear, apprehension, worry, all kinds of things that have been creeping up into us perhaps. So we're breathing in that one thing that's going to nurture us this morning. And as we breathe out, we might be letting something go, letting it release, letting it empty out, dropping it, setting it aside. This could be our practice for an hour. We could just breathe in this way and we would feel pretty transformed, I would imagine, at the end of that time. But we are going to engage with some movement practice this morning. And as we do so, we can continue to breathe in what is feeding us, helping us, nurturing us. And we can continue to breathe out what we're ready to let go of. So you can transition into a more natural breath rhythm now and begin to open your eyes. And I'd like you to take one knee and hug it in, doesn't matter which leg, and extend the other leg out straight on the floor. That leg on the floor, you might bounce the knee a few times and then kind of just let that leg relax. You might wiggle the foot. Let that bottom extended leg be nice and heavy on the floor. And then hug the other knee in nice and close. When you hug the knee in, this bottom leg, you might start to lift it up or, engage it or something, but just let it stay heavy on the floor as the other knee is hugged in. And then let go of that knee that you're hugging. And I want you to point the toes and lift the leg up in the air with your toes pointed. And then flex your foot and bring the heel back down. So you're pointing the toe and lifting the leg up and flexing the foot and dropping the heel down. Do it like that a couple more times, pointing to lift and then nice deep flexion as you bring it down. Now keep your foot flexed and press it up. And at the top, point the toe and bend the knee. So you're going to flex at the bottom and push up, point at the top and lower. Flex and press up, point and bend. One more time like that. Flex and go up and point and bend. Great. Release that foot down. We're going to just change legs. So hug the other knee in, extend the other leg out straight. You can bounce the knee on the straight leg a few times. And then just like wiggle the foot so that leg feels heavy and loose and relaxed. And as the straight leg stays down, hug the other knee in a little closer. And then keep the knee hugged in, but drop your arms down. We're going to point the toe on that bent knee leg and lift the leg up. And then flex the foot and lower the heel down. Point the toe and lift up. Flex and lower down. Couple more. Point and lift, flex, and lower. Okay, now let's keep the foot flexed and go up. And then point and bend. Flex at the bottom and go up, and then point and bend. Just kind of loosens up the foot, the ankle, the leg. Do that one more time. We're going to flex at the bottom and go up and point and come down. All right, release that foot down. Both feet on the floor now. Let's move the thing that's under your head, if you had something there, and lift your head up and clasp your hands to support your head. So the weight of the head in your hands, elbows wide. We're going to take a breath in. As you exhale, begin by knitting your ribs down into your belly and let that action begin to lift up head, neck, and shoulders. Look beyond your knees and then inhale and release back. Exhale again, knit the ribs and curl up and reach your arms forward. Knit the ribs a little more and then release back and breathe. Again, exhale, knit the ribs and reach forward. Now, can you keep your ribs knitting into your belly as you lower down and reach your arms up toward the ceiling? Don't let your ribs pop up and take your arms overhead, thumbs reaching back. Breathe. Exhale, knit the ribs, curl up, reach your arms forward. Keep your ribs knitting into your belly as you lower down and inhale, arms overhead. Again, exhale, knit the ribs and curl up, reach forward. Keep the ribs knitting in as you release back and down, arms reaching overhead. Breathe. And then let your elbows go wide and then let your elbows hug in to your waist or your arms come down to your side. Okay. I'd like us now to find our block and take the block the medium width. So not the widest, not the narrowest, but the medium width. And place it between your thighs, kind of between your knees and your body. So you're hugging that block in this medium width between your thighs. And then we're going to kind of hug onto the block with the thighs and lift the feet up and bring the knees over the hips. And then we're going to lower the feet back down. And then once the feet are down, we'll relax and take a breath. And then we'll hug the block and bring the knees up. And then lower down slowly with control till the feet come down, relax and take a breath. So you may notice how as you bring the knees up, you're kind of working the inner thighs. And as you lower down, the low belly fires to support your low back as your feet drop down. So we're going to hug and bring the knees up again. Now lift your legs up in the air and could you curl the hips up off the floor? And then release the hips and bend the knees and lower the feet down and take a breath. All right, hug and bring your knees up, lift your legs up, curl your hips up and make sure you're not pushing down with your hands to lift your hips up. Just lift from the strength of your low belly. So hug, bring your knees up, lift your legs, curl your hips up and then lower down. Sometimes when we lift the hips up, we press our arms down. So you might want to bend your bottom arm so that just your forearm, your upper arm is on the floor so that you're not using your hands pressing down. All right, last time, hug, bring the knees up, lift the legs up, curl the hips up, and then lower back down. All right, let your hands come back to support your head. Weight of the head in your hands, take a breath in. We're going to exhale and curl up as we bring the knees up. And then I want you to extend your legs out on an angle as you release your head back. And then curl up, bring the knees in, elbows to knees, and then lower down. Breathe. So we're going to exhale and curl up, knees come in, elbows come in, and then extend the legs out as you inhale back. And then curl up, knees come in, elbows come in, and then inhale and lower down. A few more like that. Curl up, extend the legs out, breathe. Exhale, curl up, release the feet down and breathe. One more time. Exhale, curl up, knees come in, elbows come in, extend the legs out, breathe. Exhale, curl up, inhale, release. Nice job. Okay, let's set that block off to the side. You can just hug your knees in to release your low back, sway a little bit if you like. Maybe take those knees apart, release those inner thigh muscles a bit and take a breath. And then bring the knees back in. Release your feet to the floor. roll to your side. We're going to make our way all the way around to all fours. So make your way all the way around to all fours. And normally we put our knees beneath hips and our wrists beneath shoulders, but I want you to bring your hands a little closer in to your knees, and we're just going to loosen up the wrists a little bit. So I want you, I'm going to turn so you can see me better. I want you, usually our fingers are forward, take your hands a little bit out to the side and just put a little weight on one hand, a little weight on the other hand. And then if it works for your body, you might turn the fingers a little bit back towards your knees and put a little weight on either hand and just see how far you can go. Some of us might be able to turn the hands all the way around till they face the knees, or maybe that's a little too far for you. And then just kind of switch it up, kind of move in different directions. So if your hands are closer to your knees, there's a little less weight on your hands, which is probably appropriate for most of us. We're walking our hands back to facing forward, and then I want you to go onto the back of your hand so that the back of the wrist can press down, and then maybe do that with the other hand. And then change the angle of your hands here. So your fingers start to turn more towards each other, and then you might turn them more towards away from your knees. You're just putting a little weight on either hand. So we're just kind of loosening up the wrists a little bit here with this movement. Just kind of putting a little weight on either hand as you change the direction. Yeah, you might even put a fist on the floor and then press down with a fist. And you might even roll the fist out and then come back up. Okay, let's put our hands back down and we'll go back to our normal distance. Wrists beneath shoulders, knees under hips. And you might do a couple of cat-cows here just to loosen up your spine. You might move your hips a little side to side. Just take a moment and move in a way that feels nice in your body. Move with your breath. And just reconnect. What are you breathing in? What would you like to let go of as you breathe out? And then eventually just come back to nice, neutral, flat back, all fours position. From here, I want you to take one knee and take it, 8 or 10 inches behind where it was. Take the other knee and put it next to that other knee. So your knees are now behind your hips. And then you're going to take your hips back again over your knees. So your arms end up more out in front of you. And could you lower your forearms down onto the mat and keep your elbows in line with your wrists and shoulders? Not everyone's going to be able to do that. Some of us, that's going to be really hard to keep that alignment. But if you can, or as much as you can, try to keep that alignment. So we're going to straighten the arms and we're just going to lower the forearms down and then we're going to push back up. So for those who've got some restriction in their shoulders, it can be really challenging to get the elbows in line with the wrists and the shoulders. But do the best you can in a way that feels appropriate for you. If it's really uncomfortable, take your hands a little wider. That would be a nice adaptation. Or don't lower as far down. Or maybe your elbows go more out to the side. But just we're trying to free up that restriction in the shoulders in this way. So we're just going to, and we're building some strength here in the muscles that tend to be restricted in the back of the shoulder. So the next time you come down onto the forearms, you could consider letting the hips go back a little bit and letting the head drop down to the floor. Again, if there's restriction in your shoulders, you might need to take your arms a little wider. But if this works for you, just take a couple breaths here. So it's kind of like child's pose, but rather than sitting all the way back on the heels, we're focused more on keeping the forearms on the floor. Breathing in and out. And then after you've let the breath go, lift your head up and let's make our way back onto hands and knees. And then could we lower ourselves down all the way onto belly? And let's do that kind of a push-up a few times. Push up onto knees, take the hips back, and then bring the hips forward and lower yourself onto the floor. Push yourself up and take your hips back. Bring yourself forward and lower yourself down. Let's do a couple more of these. Just building some strength in the shoulders here. Strength and mobility in the shoulders. We'll lower ourselves down one more time, and then we're going to push up and back and take the hips back. All right, let's begin to make our way to downward facing dog. So we're going to curl the toes under, take the hips up into the air. And as we find ourselves here, let's really feel our hands connected to the floor, spreading out fingers, thumbs, knuckles, the whole hand connected. As your hips lift up and back, just feel your neck releasing as you move your head around a little bit. Free up any tension in the neck here by letting your head hang. Let's bend a knee and press a heel to the floor. And then bend that knee and press the other heel down. Just alternate bending and pressing so you feel a nice stretch in your lower leg. And then bend both knees a bit and draw your hips way up and back as you take a deep breath in. Let that breath empty all the way out. Maybe blow it out, sigh it out. Do that again. Deep breath in. And a nice big. Good. Then walk your hands back towards your feet, dropping your heels down, ending up folded over your bent knees, loose ragdoll here. Take a big breath into your upper back. As you begin to exhale, draw your belly in and roll yourself up. Let your spine begin to stack upon itself, nice and gradually. Eventually allowing your head to come up. And when you're ready, we'll turn and face towards our device. With our feet right beneath us, let's just do a few heel raises here, just to wake up the muscles in the ankles and the feet. We'll just do a couple of these. A little balance challenge, 2. And then we're going to step wider into sumo. So heels wider than hips, toes angled out a bit. We're going to start to take the hips back and the knees forward. So could you take your hips further back and your knees further forward? So you maybe get a little deeper into this position. Hips go further back, knees go further forward. So you're in a nice deep sumo squat. And then we're going to push down to straighten up. Let's do that again. Take the hips back as the knees go forward, knees going in the direction of the toes, taking the hips back as the knees go forward. Let's now lift the right heel up real high, and we'll lower it slowly for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. Let's lift the other heel up real high and slowly lower. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Now, if you want to hold on to something here, you can. We're going to lift both heels up real high and slowly lower. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Let's straighten the legs. So we're working the legs, working the feet, the ankles, and the pelvic floor. Let's take the hips back and the knees forward here. We're going to lift the heels just ever so slightly, so they're almost grazing the mat. They're almost touching the floor, but they're slightly lifted. And with that slight amount of contact, let's start to straighten the legs. And then we'll put our heels down. Let's try that again. Hips back, knees forward. Get into this position here. Hips going back as the knees are going forward. And then lift those heels just ever so slightly. And then straighten your legs. Surprisingly, a lot of muscles kicking in there, isn't it? One more time, hips back, knees forward. We'll lift the heels just a little bit. And with that slight amount of contact, straighten your legs up. Nice job. Lower your heels down. Walk your feet together. Take a moment here to just stand in mountain pose. So rooted to the ground, connected to the earth, standing nice and tall. You might have your eyes open or closed, but take a moment, connect to your breath. Let the breath empty out. Notice if you're clenching or gripping anywhere. Is that necessary? Could you let that tension flow out with your breath? Nice. All right, let's now make our way to the front of our mats. And we won't use them right away, but let's find our 2 blocks and we're just gonna place them at the front of our mat. So eventually we'll be using them to support us. And if you would like a more gentle practice, you might just put a chair in front of your mat and you could use a chair rather than the 2 blocks. So a chair or 2 blocks towards the front of your mat. And then we're going to plant our feet and stand tall. We'll reach the arms out. And as you ground down through your feet, lift your arms up. Lengthen and reach. Big breath in. As we exhale, let's swan dive forward. Folding over. We're going to bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Rounding through the hands to lift the hips way up and back. Take a breath. Exhale and lower to straight arm plank. Letting the hips lower down, pushing the floor away. So as we're in this straight arm plank, we know we could always let the knees come down if that's better for us. But as you're pushing down and feeling the strength in your arms, could you also fire up the muscles in your thighs? So kind of feel yourself consciously activating the muscles in your thighs and a little bit of activation in the back of the legs and into the glutes. So rather than just holding yourself up with your arms, you're also feeling support from your legs, from your glutes, your whole body kind of working here. Let's take a breath. And then you might drop your knees down. We're going to try a little bend in the elbows. The tendency here is for the belly to drop. Keep the legs firing, keep the belly strong. Take another breath. And then straighten your arms and lift up and back to downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Let's try that again. Lower down to straight arm plank. Fire up your legs. Your core is going to work. Your belly is engaged, but could you activate it a little bit more and even activate into the backs of the legs, into the glutes? Take a breath. And then let's all drop to knees. We'll bend the elbows a bit. And then we're going to lower all the way down onto belly. All right. Let your heels of your hands slide back a bit. So they're by your low ribs. So your chest sinks close to the floor. Let your chin rotate in. Have your nose just grazing the mat, but then lift your chin and your nose up so you're looking straight down. With your hands on the floor now, could you lift your elbows up, lift your hands off the floor, and just kind of hug in towards your midline with your arms. So you're kind of firing up the muscles of your upper back, the back of the shoulders, and then release your hands back down. Now, reaching back through the toes, lengthening through your crown, let's start to inhale and lift the chest up into baby cobra to the point where you could still lift your hands off the mat. You could still lift your elbows and hug in towards your midline. And then release your hands down, release your chest down. This time, keep your hands on the floor. Inhale up to that baby cobra position. And if you like, press down and come up a bit higher. Try to have that extension all through your spine, not just in your low back. And then lower yourself back down. Nice. Let's push up to knees. Curl the toes under, lift the knees, fire up the legs, fire up the glutes, and then lift up and back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And then looking forward, let's walk our feet up towards the hands. We'll plant our feet beneath us. And let's have the feet hip distance apart. Bend the knees and lower the hips. Bring the hands to heart. Keep the hips low, but lift the chest. Reach the arms forward and sit back a little further. So you're working the legs here to hold this position. Could you take your arms up alongside your ears? Take a breath in and out here. And then push into your feet and legs to inhale and rise up, reach up. And then exhale, arms down at your side. Nice job. Let's root down and inhale and reach up again. And exhale and swan dive forward. Bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. We'll take a breath here. Exhale to straight arm plank. Fire up here, nice and strong. Take a breath. Try a little bend in your elbows without letting your hips drop. Take another breath. Exhale and lower all the way down. Let's come on to forearms now. Get your elbows right beneath your shoulders. Measure fingertip to elbow, elbow to fingertip. Push down with your forearms to lift your chest. Curl your toes under. Lift your hips. You could be in a kneeling forearm plank, or you could lift your knees. If you're in full forearm plank, again, fire up the front of your thighs. Fire up the back of your thighs. Engage through your glutes. Feel your belly strong. Push the floor away. Take a breath. Nice job. And then lower yourself all the way down. Take your elbows wide. Rest your head on your arms. Let everything relax and breathe. Nice. Bring your hands next to chest. Push yourself up and back. Take your hips back. Curl your toes under and make your way up to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out here. All right, so a couple of options here. One option is to drop to your knees and step your right foot out in front. Other option is to take your right leg up in the air. Breathe in. And then bend that knee, draw the knee up and in, look forward, and step through the lunge. Either way, we're going to end up in a lunge position here. Hips nice and low, feet hip distance apart. From this low lunge, we're going to go to externally supported lunge. We're going to bring our forearms on that front thigh. And can you press back through your heel and feel length from heel to crown? Then we'll go to internally supported lunge, bringing our hands to heart. Still nice and long, heel to crown. We'll take a breath here. With our exhale, we're going to twist to the right. And you could keep your hands heart center or take your elbow to the outside of that knee and deepen that twist. Take a breath here. Exhale and unwind. We'll bring our hands back down and step back to downward facing dog. You could kneel and then go back up if you like as well. All right, we're going to go to the other side. So same thing. You could drop to knees and step the left foot out into a lunge, or lift the left leg up in the air as you breathe in. Bend that knee, draw that knee up and in, and step forward into your lunge. All ending up in this low lunge position. Press back through that back heel. And then let's go to externally supported lunge. Forearms on the front thigh. Then let's come to internally supported lunge. Hands to heart. Take a breath here. Exhale and twist to the left. Hands could stay to heart or elbow to the outside of the knee, deepening that twist. Take a breath here. And exhale and unwind. Bring your hands down. Step back to down dog. Breathe in and out here. You could stay here if you like, or take a break on your knees, or lower to straight arm plank. Take a breath here. Exhale and lower all the way down to belly. Inhale up to baby cobra or cobra. Exhale back down. And make your way up and back to downward facing dog. Breathing in and out here. All right, let's look forward. Walk our feet up toward our hands. Plant our feet beneath us. We'll take a breath into the upper back. As we exhale, let's sweep the arms out and up and overhead on your exhale. And then inhale, arms down to your side. Great. Okay, here's where we're going to either use the chair or our 2 blocks. So you can put your hands on the chair, put your 2 hands on your 2 blocks. And your blocks can be high, they could be lower, or maybe you want to have your hands on the floor. The blocks just bring the floor closer to us. So your wrists are right beneath your shoulders here. Let's take a big step back with the right foot. We're going to step back to a lunge. So you can bring the blocks a little closer. Or if you're by the chair, you might need to move a little closer to your chair. So we're in that low lunge again. The hips are sinking into this lunge. So we have the right foot back. We're going to have our right hand on the block and take the left arm out to the side. And we're just going to open into a twist here. Now notice this front knee might drop open to the side. Hug that knee into your midline as you reach that arm up toward the ceiling. Take a breath here. And then bring that arm back down. Now I want you to step your back foot in and plant that foot down so that that foot is angled up towards the front right corner of the mat. And then can you start to straighten your front leg? You might not be able to get it all the way straight, but try and straighten it and then bend it. Try it again. Try and straighten it. As you're straightening it, can you pull that same hip back? And then you might bend it. And then best you can, try and straighten that front leg, pulling that hip back. And then you're squaring your chest, your shoulders to the floor. Can you leave the blocks there, push into the feet and legs, and bring yourself upright? Yeah, hands can go to hips. Can you start to lift your heart up as you breathe in, kind of extending your spine a bit here? And then as we exhale, we're going to hinge forward again. Folding forward to a flat back. And the front knee could be straight or a little bit bent. And then reach for the blocks. Continue to hinge forward. And then just let the back round and drop over that front leg. Let's try that again. We're going to push into the feet and legs. We're going to inhale to flat back. And then we're going to push down to rise up. Hands can come to hips as we inhale and lift the heart, extend the spine. You could draw your elbows in a bit here. Breathe. And then come upright. Hinge forward again. Come forward to flat back. Reach down towards your blocks or the chair. Nice and long here. Take a breath. Could you hinge forward a bit more? So moving from the hip before rounding all the way down, releasing your head. And then let's come back to flat back. So just like we did earlier in the lunge, we're going to have the right block right beneath the right hand. We're going to take the left arm forward towards your device, and then we're going to open into a twist here. Press down to reach up, take a breath, and then bring that hand back down. All right, so you could stay in this revolved triangle twist. You could go back to a lunge twist, or if you're up for a bigger challenge, we're going to step the blocks forward, or you could use the chair and lift the back leg up into a modified balancing warrior. You want that back leg extending straight back. You could hold here, or if you want a greater challenge, again, take the left arm forward, and could you lift that arm up, rotating into a twist? We'll take a breath here, and then bring that hand back down. Let's bend the standing leg. We're just going to swing the back leg in so we end up with our feet beneath us, feet hip distance apart. And we're going to go right to the other side. So we're going to take a big step back with the left foot now and drop into a lunge. Bring the blocks back so they're right underneath your shoulders. So scooch that foot back so your hips can sink down into a nice lunge position here. I'm just going to turn so I can twist towards the camera. So now you're going to have the block under your left hand, your right arm opening to the side, and we're going to open into a lunge twist here. So that, make sure that right knee doesn't drop open, hug it in towards your midline. Take a breath here, and then bring that hand back down. Now step your back foot in until you can have the heel on the floor and that foot is deeply angled. And then try and straighten the front leg and pull that same hip back as you do that. So you can bend the front knee a little bit and then try and straighten the leg, pulling the hip back. One more time, bend the knee a bit and then see if you can move towards straightening the leg, pulling the hip back. And then can you come to more of a flat back? And then pushing into the feet and legs, can you rise up? Let's bring our hands to hips. And we're going to think about lifting the heart up, extending the spine. Breathe in. You can kind of look up here. And then exhale and hinge forward, moving toward a flat back. You can bring your hands down to your blocks or your chair. Could you hinge forward a bit more from the hip? And then just let the back round, let the head drop. Take a breath into your back here. And then as you exhale, come back to your flat back. All right, push into your feet and legs. Again, we're going to rise up, breathe in. Hands can go to hips. Let's lift the heart. You can draw the elbows in a bit. Extend up, breathe. And then come forward to flat back. Let your hands come down to your blocks. Maybe hinge a bit more. And then let the back round, let the head drop. Nice. All right, coming back up to our flat back position now. You can draw that front hip back a bit. Again, left hand on the block, right arm reaches out to the side. And then as you press down with your bottom arm, can you lift that top arm up? And breathe. Nice. And then bring that hand back down. So you could do that again. You could go into the lunge twist, or you could step your blocks forward and try and lift that back leg straight back into a balancing warrior variation here. And you could just hold here, or you could add the twist, reaching the right arm forward and then opening up into a twist. Take a breath and then bring the hand back down. Bend your standing leg and let the other foot come down to the floor. Bring your blocks so they're right underneath you. All right, let's take a breath into the upper back. And then exhale and extend the spine forward. Do that again. Round and breathe into your upper back. Exhale, extend your heart forward. This time we're going to breathe into the upper back and let the arms release the blocks. And as we exhale, let's soften the knees and begin to roll ourselves up. Coming all the way up to stand. All right, let's open into a wide stance. And you're just going to need one block now. And let's put that block behind the right foot, behind the right ankle. And then step wide, nice and really wide. We're going to turn the back foot in and turn the right foot out. Hands on hips. And let's just bend and straighten that front knee a few times. Yeah, as we're bending and straightening, the outer back foot presses down. We're just kind of opening up here. And the next time the knee is bent, we'll pause here. So from here, rather than from the head, I want you to tip your hips over. And we could bring this forearm on this thigh, or you could reach back for your block. We're going to let the other arm come forward, and we're going to sweep it overhead. Thumb up, pinky down, reaching long. Can you roll your belly and chest under that arm towards your device? We're going to breathe in and out here. And sweep that arm down. Reach that arm back. Grab your block. Inhale and rise up and reach out. And then relax your arms. Straighten that front leg. Turn your feet forward. We're going to go to the other side. So we're going to turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out. We're going to place the block behind the ankle. And then we're going to press that back foot down. That foot is angled in as we bend the front knee and straighten it and bend it and straighten it Again, bend it and straighten it. This time we're going to bend that knee and keep it bent. From your center, tip your hips over. You might have a forearm on your thigh, or you might reach back for that block. Take your other arm forward and sweep it overhead. Thumb up, pinky down, and then roll the belly and chest under that arm to look towards your device. Breathe in and out. Then sweep that arm down in front. You could leave the block there. Inhale and rise up, reach out. And exhale, relax your arms down. Straighten that front foot, turn your feet forward, and walk your feet together. Nice job. Let's make our way all the way down to lying down on our mat. And we're going to lie and set up for a bridge pose. So we're going to lie back with our feet on the floor, with our arms at our side, with our feet hip distance apart. As you arrive here, just take a moment to connect with how you're feeling, connect with your breath, relax the roof of your mouth, take a breath. Great. All right. So if you push your feet down and you don't do anything else, like there's an urge to lift something up when your feet push down, right? And if you push down really strongly, you might notice how the backs of your thighs are engaging or firing. So as we push down now, let's use the hamstrings and we're going to take the hips up into the air. Come up into a nice bridge, whatever feels good for you. Lift your hips up, knees and shins forward, take a breath, and then lower yourself down, taking a little time to just gradually release your vertebrae as incrementally as you would like. For right now, and eventually lower all the way out of your bridge. Let everything relax and take a breath. All right. Let's take one foot and lift it off the floor so your knee is over your hip. And then we're going to press with the other foot into the floor to lift the hips up. Yeah. And then lower yourself down. Do that a few more times. Press that same foot down, lift your hips up, and then lower yourself back down. Couple more. Make sure you're not pushing with your arms. You want to be using the hamstring on that bottom leg that's pushing you up. So your arms aren't doing the work to lift you up. The back of that bottom leg is doing it. Let's do this side one more time. Push down to lift up and then lower yourself down. Great. Put that foot down. We're going to do one bridge again with both feet on the floor. So push into your feet, lift your hips up into the air. Come up as high as feels right for you and take a breath. And then lower yourself down. Slowly, gradually, incrementally, feeling your spine articulate as you lower out of your bridge. Making your way all the way down, letting everything relax. And then lift the other foot off the floor. Bring your knee over your hip. And then with the foot that's on the floor, press down to lift your hips up. And then lower yourself down. Press down to lift up. So try and work from the muscles in the back of the leg that's pushing down. Don't push with your arms. Lift up and lower down. 2 more times. Push down, lift up and lower down. Last one. Push down, lift up and lower down. Great. Both feet on the floor. One more time. Push down to take the hips up into the air, as high as you like into your bridge. Take a breath at the top. And then lower yourself down. Rolling down until your tail rolls out and relaxes. Take a breath. Nice. All right, let's roll to the side and push ourselves up. And we're going to use the block one more time now. We're going to turn it sideways and we're going to come up and sit on it. So you're going to come up and sit on the block so that it's right underneath your sitting bones. So that when you sit on it, then if sitting cross-legged doesn't feel good, you could straighten one or both legs. And if this doesn't feel comfortable, you could sit on the floor, you could sit on a chair. But if we sit on a block, it helps us to feel our sitting bones, which is the foundation of our spine. And it can be a useful thing to imagine growing roots down from the sitting bones, down into your block. So find those sitting bones and then just really imagine you have roots growing down from your sitting bones, down into that block, down into the earth. And with that as our solid foundation, we can feel the spine rising up from there. So we sit up nice and straight. We can feel this central line of the body, and we're going to rotate around that central line. So as you're rooting down now, take your right hand behind, take your left arm across. Try and see if you can keep your navel facing forward. So we're not going to rotate from the pelvis, we're going to rotate from the thoracic spine. So feel that line of your spine and breathe in. And then spiral your ribs, your chest, and your shoulders around to the right. Your head can follow. And then as you've twisted around to the right, I want you to breathe deeply. Take a deep breath in and down. And then let that breath empty all the way out. You could breathe in through the nose if you can, if you're not stuffed up. And you can breathe out through the nose, or you could blow it out or sigh it out. But let the breath empty on the exhale. Do that one or two more times. And then release and unwind. Root down into your sitting bones, down into your block. Sit up nice and tall. Take your left hand behind. Take your right arm across. See if you can keep your navel from twisting around. Take a breath in, and then spiral your ribs, your chest, and your shoulders around that axis line of your spine. Your head can follow. And then invite a deep breath. In and down. Let it empty all the way out. Use this breath as a chance to let something go, to release something, to let the worries just fall away. Drop, release. And when you're ready, you can unwind. We'll make our way off of our block, and we'll transition into our final relaxation. So using this time now to set ourselves up to be warm and comfortable. So that might mean putting on a layer or putting on your socks. That might mean grabbing a blanket or a pillow or something for under your knees. Taking the time to set yourself up. It's tempting to skip this part of the practice, but this part of the practice is really a vital component of our yoga practice. And in challenging times, I think this becomes even more beneficial. So we set ourselves up so that we can be comfortable when we lie down. So that when we lie down, it feels good. We feel like we have the ability to let the body relax. And that's our only thing that we are wanting to do right now, is to allow the body to relax. So we give ourselves this time and space, just a few minutes at the end of our practice. We let go of all the need to do, to think, to process. And we allow ourselves to drop just into a natural, relaxed state of being as we are. Breathing however you're breathing. Resting however you're resting. Allowing yourself to do nothing. Allowing yourself to just be here as you are. Rather than doing something, we practice not doing. We let the body be as it is, relaxed, open, unclenched, not gripping or holding on. Softening, smoothing, releasing, opening, relaxing, letting go. The body relaxes. The head rests back and all the facial muscles soften and release. And the mind rests as well. We rest back and we become comfortable with allowing ourselves to just be as we are, how we are. And I have a reading to share as you're lying back called Make Yourself at Home. This is from Melody Beatty. She says, once you accept yourself unconditionally, you'll be surprised at how comfortable you begin to feel, no matter where you are. We may have tricked ourselves into thinking our security came from outside ourselves, that we needed certain other people or places, certain objects or items around us, or that we had to live our lives in a particular way to feel secure. But relying on things and people outside ourselves provides a false sense of security. False security will be shown for what it is. There's a real security, a true safety, available to us all, no matter who we are, where we are, or what we're doing. That security comes from accepting ourselves. That security comes from trusting ourselves, trusting our hearts, our wisdom, our connection to the divine and to the universe around us. Once we accept ourselves unconditionally, no matter where we are, it will feel like home. So we can make our way out of this time of just being as we are, connecting with our natural selves. You might begin to bend your knees, put your feet on the floor. You might begin to roll to your side and transition there for a bit. You might eventually make your way up to sitting, and it can be nice to spend a few moments for quiet reflection or gratitude practice. Even in these challenging, trying times, we have so much we have to be grateful for. I'm grateful for this practice and the ability to practice with each of you. I thank you for being here this morning. Peace. And so maybe you want to just stay lying back. Maybe you need to run off. Maybe you want to check in, say hello or goodbye, or ask a question. It's all good, whatever's right for you.